week you've had. Is being the front runner what you thought it would be?
Yeah.
In what way?
In that I expected, a lot more attention. Some of the places I've been, we have foreign journalists now, and I'm tempted to speak to them in their language.
How many languages do you speak?
Almost one.
All right. Let's talk about the money, because new numbers came out today. You tweeted about it. $3.5 million this week alone.
Yeah.
Jaw-dropping. But you also said, thank you, biased media. Is that what you really think is going on here?
Oh yeah, there's no question what's going on.
So more about us and not about you?
Well, are you including yourself amongst the biased media?
I hope not.
Okay. But yeah, the people are seeing through exactly what's going on, and they're getting fired up. It's almost us versus them thing. And every place I go, I go to a book signing, there's 1,000 people in line. Please don't let them get to you. Don't give up. We got your back. We know what's going on. We believe you. And it actually is very encouraging because it helps me to realize that the people of America who are supposed to be at the pinnacle are actually waking up and getting ready to assume that position. And America's strength is its people. And I believe this is a very good sign.
Let me talk to you first about gifted hands, because that's been a lot. You've got your terrible temper, all those things. We spoke to Steve Choice. I don't know if you remember him. You went to grade school with him. He said that the only time he remembers you having a temper is, and I'm going to quote him here, they came flying out of the house. Benny was slim, a skinny ass. Curtis worked out, pumped up, can't see why he was running from Ben unless he knew something we didn't. Was your brother afraid of you?
I don't think he was afraid of me, but he certainly knew about my temper.
Is he the one who you tried to knife?
I'm not giving any information about who the person was that I tried to knife.
You won't say it wasn't your brother?
I won't say it was, I won't say it wasn't.
Are you trying to protect him?
I would not want anybody actually to be put under the microscope because of my doing.
Wouldn't the easiest way to diffuse at least some of these questions be to ask your brother to come out and speak about this?
I don't. How do you know it's my brother? I didn't say it was my brother.
He would be someone, you said it was your mother and your brother, who would know about your temper. So maybe it wasn't that particular incident, but you say it was your mother and your brother who were there, who saw it.
My mother has Alzheimer's.
Obviously.
My brother's not interested in talking to the media. And a number of other people aren't either that I've talked to.
What surprises some people is with all these stories that have come out, and you have made the argument that just because you talked to 9 people, or in our case, we talked to 4 people who knew you in grade school, and they didn't see it, doesn't mean it's not true. But
because it was flash temper. I wasn't like that all the time. Most of the time, I was a reasonable person. I would just fly off the handle and go into these rages. So unless you happen to be there or happen to be the victim of it, why would you know about that? And then I thought it was pretty strange, the people that they said they talked to, the 9 people, none of them were people who were, for instance, at Wilson Junior High School, where the lock incident occurred. So why would they know about that? I just thought their methodology was not particularly good.
But are you surprised that given the number of incidents where these questions have been raised, and given the media environment we live in, frankly, where people come out and be on TV all the time, that not a single person has come out to corroborate your stories that have been questioned?
Well, the only people who were involved were the people in those 4 stories. Those would be the only people. And
well, the people involved in those stories of violence, but now there are questions about whether or not you actually sheltered people after the riots following the assassination of Martin Luther King, for example.
I haven't heard a lot of questions coming out about that, but if they do, maybe some of those people will come forward.
That was one of the things that was raised in the Wall Street Journal this morning.
I didn't read it.
So what they said was that they contacted a number of people there. They talked to teacher there. That none of those people remember this happening.
Well, they don't remember the riot?
They do. Everyone remembers the riot. They don't remember the role you say you played in helping to protect some of the white students.
But why would they know about that unless they were one of those students?
So it doesn't surprise you that no one in any of these stories has come forward.
Or maybe one of those students will come forward. I don't know. I mean, I'm just now hearing about it. So maybe they're not spending all of their time reading the Wall Street Journal.
There's also some questions raised about the class where you said that the teacher said that you were the most honest student there.
Well, let me just cut to the chase.
Okay.
I mean, I've written several books. I've given lots of speeches. We can spend every day from now until the election going through, well, you said this, and what about this, and what about this? Well, we can talk about important issues. I prefer to talk about important issues. The American people are speaking volumes by saying they're tired of this garbage. And what they really want to deal with are the reasons that I'm here, the reasons that I'm running for president. You know, my life, you know, I have never tried to hide. I've never tried to hide my faults or warts. You guys are trying to say I don't have any warts. I do have warts. I've had them. I've dealt with them. I've confessed them. But it's time to really move on. It's not time to spend every single day talking about something that happened 50 years ago.
Oh, you don't think that vetting the things that have formed the basis, frankly, of
your... vetting is one thing, but going through and picking every little thing, it wouldn't even bother me if, for instance, the same type of emphasis was placed on why the current president's records are hidden. And you know, I don't see the same kind of intensity on
You
why...
think you're being vetted more than any other presidential candidate?
Excuse me. I'm just worried about, why don't I see the same kind of intensity? If my college records were concealed, would you guys be interested in that?
That has not been raised as a question,
but would you be interested?
I'd love to see your college records. Would you like to release them?
Well, that would be a big issue, wouldn't it? If I intentionally hid my college records and didn't want anybody to know about it.
So you think...
Could you answer the question? That would be a big issue for you guys, right?
I think the question is, do you think vetting is legitimate?
You want to answer that question?
I guess the question is, do you think that you're being treated somehow differently? That seems to be the implication.
I do, absolutely.
And so anytime you feel that a journalist has not done what you want with another candidate.
Vetting is one thing. Going through a person's entire life because you can't find a scandal and saying, well, you said this, 20 years ago, and you said this 50 years ago, and this happened, and this. I mean, my point being that you could do that every single day from now until the election, and I could get distracted, and I could deal with all of those things, or I can deal with what's important. And what we ought to be concerned about is the fact that our country is being torn apart by division, that we are fiscally irresponsible and we're ruining the future for our children, that we are not paying attention to the global jihad movement and what the implications are. We're not dealing with our electric grid problems and the cyber attacks. There are so many things that threaten us. We need to be dealing with those things and not being distracted. A few things here and there. These are not big major scandals. There are some big major scandals that are going on. I wish we'd pay attention to those.
Well, let me just ask you one more question that doesn't deal with people who have not come forward or who don't want to be a part of this story. There are things that have been independently vetted. One is General Westmoreland. We know now, looking at his records, that he was not there when you said in your book.
I know he was there in Detroit, and I know there were Congressional Medal of Honor. And, it may not have been Memorial Day, but it was sometime during the time when I was the city executive officer.
The Yale class that you talk about, that you were in, where you were named the most honest student, Yale says that class doesn't exist.
It's probably the way you described it. Of course the class exists.
But the way you
it may not exist now, but at that time there was a class. It was a psychology class, and if they keep all the archives of the newspapers, you should be able to go back and see the Yale Daily News. It turned out to be a spoof that they had put in there, about this, but it didn't look like a spoof. It looked like part of the regular Yale.
Was the photograph in there because they couldn't find it?
There was an article in there about the exam being incinerated.
So you have said, and you said this on Fox News, that the media is going to go back and try to find everything and try to get me on the defensive. But what then is fair game in your mind in terms of running for president and vetting?
Okay, well, thank you for asking that. Fair game would be some type of criminal activity, some type of a scandal, something that has been detrimental to society. And we have plenty of those kinds of things going on.
Let me ask you about some issues. We're standing at an airport, and one of the things that comes to mind, we have an investigation going on into a downed jetliner, questions being raised about whether ISIS was involved. How concerned are you about that? What's the role the United States should play?
Well, I'm very concerned about that because we need to find out exactly how that bomb got into that cargo space and make sure that we guard against that happening anywhere in the world, quite frankly. So it'll be a learning experience. One of the things that we learn in medicine is that we can learn just as much from a mistake as we can from a failure.
We're looking at the big long lines in there, and I'm wondering if you agree with people who say we're spending too much time focusing on regular American passengers and not enough on, say, grounds crew, other people who work at the airport. How confident are you of security in the United States right now, as someone who travels a lot?
There's no question it could be beefed up. I think there's a lot we could learn, for instance, from Israel. You know, they don't go through the same kind of screening that we do. They do more targeted screening, and they've had a pretty good record.
But it can take a long time to get through screening in Israel.
Times I've been there, I haven't had a problem.
Maybe I just look like I'm suspicious.
I look honest.
There have been questions about gaps in Egyptian airport security. Obviously, there's a lot of conversations going on with Egypt, with Russia. You've talked about the fact that there are different kinds of experience. What kind of experience have you had that prepares you to deal with foreign leaders and that says you can take care of these complex issues that the United States is facing right now?
I've had a lifetime of experience living at every socioeconomic level, doing a whole host of different kinds of jobs, taking pediatric neurosurgery from nowhere on the map to number one in 2008 U.S. News and World Report, sitting on multinational corporate boards, starting a scholarship program that is in all 50 states and has won major national awards, doing complex types of surgical procedures that have never been done before, and most importantly, putting together teams of extremely competent people to be able to accomplish very difficult things.
This may sound like a joke, but some people think that this is serious. Ask Dr. Carson if he would want someone who is an experienced politician to operate on his brain.
Well, it does sound like a joke because anybody who thinks that the amount of training that you have to go through to be a neurosurgeon and what you have to go through to be a politician are equivalent really don't know very much.
Do you mean to disparage people who have extensive experience?
I don't mean to disparage any.
Affairs and
excuse me.
Economy.
I don't mean to disparage anyone. But if you truly believe that someone who is a politician, who in many cases we have some very good politicians who've only been there for 2 years, and if you really think that in 2 years you can become a competent neurosurgeon, you really don't know very much. Anybody who thinks that, whoever asks that question, they really don't know very much about medical training and what it requires.
But does it say something about your view of past presidents who have been military leaders, who have led committees in Congress, who have led governments in major states?
That doesn't say anything about that at all. What it says is that experience can come from a variety of different ways. And our country was designed with the citizen statesman in mind, not the career politician. It's only the career politicians who have managed to make people think that they're the only ones who can solve the problems.
How are you going to win this?
The people. It's
How
as simple as
involved are
that.
you in the campaign? Because I think you made somebody asked you about the rap video, and you suggested you might not have done that.
I'm not involved in every aspect of the campaign. I can't be.
So what's your focus?
My focus is reaching the people of America, listening to them, finding out what's important to them, because I don't think you can really represent the people unless you know that.
Due respect, every candidate says that.
Does every candidate say that?
Yeah, I think every candidate says we want to listen to the American people.
Well, good.
We're hearing what they want to say.
I'm glad to hear
But
that.
how are you different?
Maybe I'm not different. I think what we will do is allow the people to decide whether I'm different and whether I'm somebody that they trust and somebody that they want to put their confidence in.
Is this fun for you?
Would I have preferred to be doing something else? Certainly, but it is important to me. And when I think about the sacrifices that were made by those who preceded us in order that we might have the freedom that we have now, it's the very least that I can do.
And if someone said to you, Dr. Carson, understand playing golf and sleeping in sounds good, but I want a president who wants to be president more than anything else they want in the world, wants to serve, wants to change, wants to really put his mark on history, that's not what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is what I want more than anything else in the world is to save this country for the next generation. And I see it fizzling away because of our incredible fiscal irresponsibility and our failure to take the correct position on the world stage.
Unemployment down to 5%.
Unemployment, that number can be made anything you want it to be based on who you include and exclude. And the real number, as you I'm sure know, is the labor force participation rate, which is the number of people who are eligible to work who are actually working, which is at a 38-year low.
I want to just go back to West Point for 1 second, and as I've been looking into it, and I happen to have someone close to me who's going through the process of trying to get into West Point, do you feel in some way it diminishes the cadets today to suggest that you had a scholarship or you were told you could get in when they have gone through this rigorous process, when they have made the application, when they actually got accepted?
I don't think so. I really don't think that at all. In fact, I've gotten some support from West Point graduates.
So you don't think you owe them an apology at all, particularly the people who have gone through this rigorous process?
There's nothing to apologize for. You know, what I was doing was emphasizing what a great place West Point is and what an honor it would be to go there. So in no way am I trying to diminish them.
I just want to ask you a couple of other questions generally about the campaign, and I know that you said you're not deeply involved in it, but sort of what is your strategy going forward? You are raising all this money. People talk about the burn rate, that you need to be spending less, but besides talking to people, besides getting your message out, do you sit down with your campaign? Do you look at a map? Do you say, this is where we have to go, this is how we do it? Or do they say to you, here's what we should do, Dr. Carson?
We talk about it. We talk almost on a daily basis about various strategic things.
Can you share a little of that?
No, why would I do that? Why would I give that advantage to the people who are running against me?
Who's the toughest competition you have?
Well, I think they're all tough, but I don't really see the other Republican candidates as competition.
But don't you think you have to differentiate yourself from them on the issues?
I think all I have to do is be myself. I'm not a politician, so I don't think like a politician. I think like, be yourself, tell the truth, and really it's considerably less stressful than trying to work on some political map, to be honest with you.
And when Donald Trump calls you a liar, when headlines say that your stories are fabrication?
No problem.
You seemed a little combative last night with the media.
Yeah, well, because, you know, they were trying to pile on, and I wasn't going to allow that to happen.
I guess I just want to go back and say vetting is a normal part of the process. Did you not expect this?
I have always said that I expect to be vetted, but being vetted and what is going on with me, you said this 30 years ago, you said this 20 years ago, this didn't exist, this didn't exist. You know, I have not seen that with anyone else. If you can show me where that's happened with someone else, I will take that statement back.
I think almost every person who has been president
Not like this. I have never seen this before. And many other people who are politically experienced tell me they've never seen it before either.
You don't think that Bill Clinton or the president with his birth certificate, people who still
not like
refuse
this.
to believe?
Not even close.
So what do you think is going on? Why you?
Because I'm a threat.
To?
To the progressive, the secular progressive movement in this country. I'm a very big threat because, you know, they can look at the polling data and they can see that, you know, I'm the candidate who's most likely to be able to beat Hillary Clinton. They see that. And they also worry, you know, they go to some of these book signings and things, you know, and they see the kinds of people who are in line and they see a great diversity of people, and it worries them. And they say, you know, these are people who may be attracted to this guy, and they're worried about it.
You're saying it's progressives. Some of your campaign folks have said that they think it's your direct competition, other Republicans.
Well, yeah, of course they're going to be sending submarines, but I'm talking about the people who are the most worried. Those are people who just want to get elected, and they want to get you out of the way so they can get elected. That's a different group of people than the ones who are really threatened by what I represent.
So you have to get on a plane and go to Puerto Rico, so I will ask you finally, are you for Puerto Rican statehood?
Yes.
Why?
If in fact the vast majority of Puerto Ricans want statehood, because, you know, they've already been part of our country for 100 years, 100 plus years. They've served in the military. You know, there's 5 million people of Puerto Rican descent here. There's only 3.5 million on Puerto Rico. They're in the fabric of our country. And if they want to be citizens, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be.
15,000 surgeries, right?
Yes.
So 15,000 times, presumably you've had to talk to patients and give a prognosis. What's your percentage of winning the nomination? Where do you put yourself at?
Somewhere between 0 and 100.
That's giving yourself a lot of leeway.
A lot of leeway.
You're not feeling confident?
I'm not a bettor. I always say, why guess when soon you'll know.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.